Hi, my name is Aksik, aka Annika. Welcome to my channel. Hi, very happy to see you here. We mostly talk here about adult coloring and coloring books and art materials and all such. And this video is finally the hour of reckoning. I am starting to cull my coloring stash, and it's baby steps. So I have picked up a bit of a pile, fair stack of books and some art materials, but I've just started to go through it, and I'm trying to be more ruthless with myself, and eventually I'm trying to get to the stage that I'm letting go of the things that I don't give enough love to. And even though I might look at them and say, oh, actually, it's a good thing, or I actually like them, but if I don't use them, and if I don't like them enough to use them, or there might be other reasons which I will tell in this video, then there's no point holding on to them. So this is it. I'm doing it. So just a second. I'm walking a couple of steps because I forgot to bring something to the desk. And I will start with just very little amount of art materials I have collected. There will be more. There will be more of these videos. And one of the reasons, well, I'll talk about that further on in the video as well. Maybe some of you, might want some of the things, but, at the moment with the postage costs and everything, and, some of them, I would not be able to let go with just for nothing. And I certainly wouldn't be able to pay for the shipping for all of them. But, you can contact me if you really want something. Okay, so first ones I kind of am picking up. These ones, they will go. They are already kind of packaged for shipping. I will actually, these ones actually found a new owner, which I'm very happy for. And I will ship them like this, in this kind of a handy pencil box, which wasn't actually kind of listed, but I love these boxes. I have quite a many of them, and it kind of holds them nice and steady, and I will put cardboard around it and bubble wrap so that they will be secure during the shipping. These are my Always pencils, which I know, in my video about pencils, or budget pencils, I said, that these are good pencils, and I stand by it. They are good pencils. They're soft pencils, absolutely nice to work with. Quite pigmented for a budget pencil. Okay, let's put that caveat there. So yeah, they're great pencils, but I don't give them enough love. I haven't touched them for years because I have so many other options, so many other pencils to play with. Therefore, they will go. And they served me well for some period of time. And now it's time that they will serve somebody else, because, there's not much use of them sitting in a lovely pencil case in one of the big, boxes I have for pencils. So yeah, I took them out of the pencil case because I need that pencil case for something else soon anyway. That's, in other news, because more pencils are coming into this house. Something needs to go. Yeah, I already let something go, and these ones also will leave the house. So that's it. That was too long about them. Second thing that I will let go is these things, which are also brilliant. I just talked about them, about my water-soluble crayons video. They are of very good quality. They're essentially identical with Neo colors. The problem is that I already have Neo colors, and I got them mostly to kind of try out, what it's like, water-soluble crayons, and these are great. They genuinely feel to me as pigmented and wash out as easily as Neo colors. So anybody who wants to kind of try out Neo colors without buying Neo colors, these Swiss Color Aquarelle crayons. There's 15 of them. They're basically primaries. You can mix anything from them, essentially. Well, yeah, you know, you need some skill to mix anything, but yeah, absolutely fantastic product. But I already have kind of, you know, the more professional, you know, I already have Neocolor, so why do I have this one as well? So they are looking for new home. Then these ones are Cosmic Shimmer Metallic Watercolors. I don't know if I ever made I haven't made video about my metallic watercolors. Okay, one day I will do that one as well. They are good quality, you know, absolutely decent metallic watercolors. As most of them, you need to put water on them and just leave it sit for a while. These ones take quite a long time to activate. You're better off at least 5 minutes, better even 10, you to leave water sit in there, and then, you know, you kind of have nice consistency. They are nice, but once they have been activated, they're really nice and opaque. They don't have huge amount of glitter. They have kind of this metallic sheen more so than glitter. You know, if I do it like this, the gold is pretty bright, and this is a fantastic color here. This one here, it's basically, doesn't really show up very well on this swatch. It's essentially like colorless shimmer, and it's really beautiful and actually quite bright. And this one is also essentially kind of like white shimmer, beautiful for snow and such things. But you know, I have other sets that I love more. This is one of my kind of first sets, which hasn't really gotten much use. To be honest, you know, there's other sets that I have used way more, so, you know, obviously it's not getting enough use for me to actually hold on to it. This is iridescent one, you know, the one that kind of changes color depending on what, you know, if you put it on black or white. So yeah, they're nice. They're really nice and good quality metallic watercolors. But I have enough metallic watercolors. I know I have quite a bit of ones that I like more, so they will have to go. And another set of, you know, almost identical is this one. I don't know the brand of these. I don't think it's written on these swatches either. I really like the box of it. Kind of has, it's a double-sided box like this, and, you know, it closes like this. So once they run out, I would take the trays out of it and actually use the box for something, because I think it's a cool box. I almost felt tempted with just, you know, to get rid of the paint. And sorry, that was weird. I don't really have much of a cough, and it sounded like I'm a smoker of 40 cigarettes a day, which I'm not. Yeah, it's a cool box, but I'm not going to, you know, keep them just for the box. The paints are right. Paints are totally nice. I've used them actually quite a lot. You know, you can see, like, especially this color. I really love this color. Where can I find this? Okay, I'm very confused, but I think it's this color I'm talking about here, but it's kind of has kind of a gold and bluish glints in it. It's really cool color. And this color, the Opal Orchid, is also kind of interesting, with kind of color variations depending on how you move it. I didn't swatch them out very well when I got them. I didn't really have as much experience with metallic watercolors. Now, you know, I know exactly, you know, how to, what consistency I have to get them and how to apply them. I wasn't really used to them to that extent. But they are good. They have, you know, seen quite a bit of use. You know, that's, you know, for me anyway. This one, the blue one, I did a background with it, so that's, you know, kind of, you can see there's a hole in it. But rest of them, you know, I've used maybe a little bit from the top, and some of them I haven't touched at all. So yeah, they're great, and I will be looking for a new home for them. I'll probably put them on Vinted or something like that. And, you know, I'm not looking for huge money for it, but, you know, at least kind of to cover shipping. And maybe a couple of bobs, you know. And then these ones will also go. Derwent Graphitin 12 pans, which I actually love. I really like them. They're great. Once again, I don't have the swatch of them there. I don't know where I put it, you know, the actual swatch. This is not a swatch. This is the thing they give you, which doesn't really, to me, it's not actually realistic, you know. They're not exactly the colors that they're showing here. But they're really nice. They're great. They're great for kind of very muted landscape depictions, or doing things like road and ground and stone and rocks and walls and, you know, all sorts of kind of very muted or natural or kind of a grayish, you know, different tones of gray essentially, because what it is essentially toned gray, all of them, because there's graphite in them. And why I'm letting go of them, because I prefer the pencils. I really like the pencils and I use them, but I rarely ever use the pans, surprisingly, because I often would prefer pans to pencils in many cases. Like, you know, I love my watercolors, so, but surprisingly I have to say that these ones will leave, that I like the pencils more. I use the pencils more, these ones rarely ever, so there's no point holding on to them, so they will go. And they still have the, you know, the original water brush and everything, you know, Derwent own product here, so yeah, hopefully they will find a loving home. And then these are just doubles, duplicates, you know. I've gotten, I really like my Goldfaber water-based markers, one of my favorites at the moment. I love how they lay down. They're nice and juicy. The brush is beautiful. I think they're, you know, they're like Tombos, but to me, I actually, you know, I haven't like used Tombos much. I've only tried a couple, and not even, you know, I don't even have one, but I have tried, you know, Tombos, and I like them almost better than Tombos. You know, the way they lay down. I love the colors. See how they wash out. Very much, you know, very pigmented, very beautiful. But pigmented, they're all dye based, but you know what I mean. Yeah, they're wonderful, but they come often in sets. It's way cheaper for me to buy them in sets than it is for me to buy them in separately. You can find some sites which sell them separately, but usually for me the shipping on top is so much that it doesn't really work out for me very well, you know, if I buy them separately. So, you know, it's always better for me if I try to get them, you know, if some set is discounted. But stupid thing about sets with them is that they often have repeating colors in sets, you know, that they don't really take into consideration that people who buy sets might buy several sets, and then they have, you know, 2 burnt siennas or 2 vintage pinks, which is this wonderful, wonderful color for, yeah, the same color that's beautiful for building skin and mixing up skin colors. It's just wonderful. Really nice color. And I've had this brownish pink, you know. So yeah, so these have been kind of the repeats from my sets, and you know, I know myself enough that there's no point keeping them, because I don't go to mine, you know, so aggressively that I would need the doubles. So I will probably, you know, try to find them new home as well. So if you're interested in something, but you know, the shipping nowadays is pretty harsh. And here is next one, next little bundle that will go. And these are actually now, you know, it would be a boon for somebody who wants to try out Honolulu, the set and the Honolulu Plus alcohol markers. Those are the ones that have the rubber nib. Rubber nib meaning like Copic nib. this is what the nib looks like. You know, they're kind of a flexible. I love rubber nibs and I love these markers. I got myself, you know, who sent me for testing the 36 pack. And after I had tested that, I got the other pack, the 24 pack as well. But between these two packs, which, you know, I think is, you know, why couldn't they just, you know, have all different colors? There's actually 6 colors that overlap. So I am, you know, putting these up somewhere, or, you know, kind of finding them a new home, because there's no point having, you know, duplicate ones, and these would be great for somebody who just wants to try them, you know, for, you know, very little, you know, if they like them or not. So these, for time being, you know, I haven't gotten very far with my art materials. That's it for these. And now I have a pile of books. Brace yourselves. Okay, first one is this one, Creative Haven, and this is one of the older, I think, what year is that? It was when it still had, can I tell from here? You know, sometimes you can tell from the codes what year it was published, but I, of course, cannot think of it now. So these are actually printed in USA. I can't tell from this code what year it was. And here it doesn't really tell me, except that it's Dover Publications. Oh, 2019. Anyway, whenever this was printed, they still, at that time, had slightly more decent paper. It's slightly thicker, the paper. At the moment, I've seen a couple of later ones and held a couple of later ones, but I don't like the paper at all. At some stage, the paper went to dogs big time. Then I think it's now recovered a bit from what I've heard. I don't really buy much of them. Most of their artists aren't to my taste. I actually don't, you know, I would prefer that paper to Amazon paper anyway, even the crappier one. But it's just their artist selection is not very much me. You know, doesn't vibe with me very well. Although this one, actually, I do like. Martin Noble is the author of this one, Winter Scenes, which I like because it's not just Christmas, you know, it's winter. So you're not very limited to only, you know, December or maybe end of November coloring this one. And they're beautiful, beautiful images. They just, for some reason, don't call to me. I don't know. Maybe I'll change my mind, you know, before I decide, you know, to let it go. But they are genuinely beautiful. Like, they're gorgeous images. And, you know, I'm just, you know, the way I like, you know, I like scenes, but they don't excite me. I don't know why. The scenes are beautifully drawn. This is actually not very cute. I actually like that one better. You know, the animals are beautifully drawn, but I still don't really, you know, don't want to color it, you know. Funnily enough, I've seen them colored and they're gorgeous, and that's probably why, you know, I bought it. You know, yes, you know, finally a winter coloring book I do love and will definitely use, but sad fact is that no, I don't want to. Now, the next one that will go is this book, Rita Berman, another book whose works I respect and admire, and I thought I would like her much more than I actually do. Well, I did. In the very beginning, when I started coloring, I actually, you know, one of the first books, or, you know, one of the first books that I got were actually one or two her books. And I think I had Autumn book, which I eventually let go, and I had the one with animals, Land Under the Magnifying Glass. Let's say it in German, which I can't. And when I'm looking at it like this now, I still think they're cute, they're beautiful. It's just I always struggle to figure out how to color them. and they don't really speak to me. Although, you know, this landscape is actually cool. I like it. But anytime I'm picking up a book, I'm choosing, you know, and I'm planning to, you know, color something in her books, I will end up choosing something else over it. And it's been now years, and this book is untouched. And this, I have obviously marked at some stage, you know, that I'm going to color it. Never did. And I still think it's a beautiful image. I know, you know, and I understand why I picked it. But if I haven't colored it so far, I have a feeling that it's going to sit on my shelf, you know, more and more, because I have now more and more books, and I have gotten, you know, some wonderful happy mail as well from people, you know, with even more fantastic books, and there's limits on my time and my shelf space. So this book, although beautiful, will need to go. Now, next book is this one, and this is by Top. It's also a German publisher and German book. This book, I don't think I'm going to be able to, you know, sell or give to anybody, because that one just, you know, came apart like this. It's glue bound, and it's glue bound. It doesn't really, this bit isn't attached to the glue bound pages, which means that, you know, if you basically open the book, it can just fall apart, which essentially happened to me. I have done one page here. One of the pages, then, you know, any people who, I think when I posted it on Instagram, and I said it myself, and people said as well, you know, this is not identifiable as your page. Somehow this art just, you know, doesn't sit. And I did like the idea and the image, you know, the way the leaves gradually turn into birds. I just didn't manage to translate my idea and my actual kind of a like for this image into reality. And yeah, it doesn't look like my page. And, you know, most of the artwork here, there's a selection of artists. I really like that artist, Ursula Schwab. And I might even, you know, to technically do a couple of her images. But the fact is that I also heartily dislike the fact that this, you know, the way this book falls apart. I don't mind my books getting banged up, but I don't want them to fall apart just by looking at them, which is essentially what is happening here. Oh, I have actually put kind of like, I tend to do this sometimes, you know, I put Post-its with kind of a, you know, do this or do this next to pages. Yeah, like this, you know, vibrant, I have said next to it. So yeah, I here as well, muted pink and green, I have said here, which I still like that image. It's just, yeah, I don't like coloring in this book because the way it is. And the paper is actually all right, especially for pencils. And it takes watercolor and everything. So it's good paper, or, you know, aquarelle. Okay. You can see that I haven't cleaned up my Post-its from this book, which, you know, I should really do. But this one will probably not be looking for new home. I just have to either, I don't know, send it to school if they want it, or I don't even know what's going to happen to it. Maybe the senior center will take it, but, you know, it's essentially falling to pieces, and there's already colored page in it. So yeah, kind of sad. Now, next one, let me find something smaller so I don't have to do the seesaw up and down, up and down. Okay, this book. And this book now is, you know, one of those books that is really popular, almost like treasured books in many people's shelves and stashes. And I don't remember, it's a Japanese book. I don't remember I didn't do the Google Translate. Have I written it in? No, I haven't. Sometimes I put little post-it here. But most of the times I tend to put a post-it there with the translation, but obviously I haven't. I think there's a series. There's, I think, 3 of these books. And I think they're called Flowers and Girls. And all the images here inside are essentially, you know, a girl with some sort of a flower. And you have really nice paper, but from what I know, not really meant for anything watercolored, you know, and anything water-based even tends to, you know, go through. And there's, you know, sample for the coloring. It's untouched. I have not, from my knowledge anyway, I have not done anything with this book. And if you, I still, you know, find it beautiful. I especially like, you know, bit of these samples. I wouldn't follow them probably exactly, but I do like them, you know. I do like to see how they have been colored, although, you know, what irritates me right away is that I can clearly see that these are colored with watercolor, you know, all those effects, you know, a lot of these effects anyway are watercolor effects, and I cannot do them on this paper even if I wanted to, which is kind of like, you know, why are they showing me something that I cannot do? But that, never mind. But why I haven't really colored in it, one of the reasons is, or in the name essentially, even, you know, they're all girls, even the ones that are supposed to, you know, although these look kind of somewhat grown up, but they all, even the characters that I have been put into kind of in grown-up situations, they all look like kids. And I like coloring women. I don't know. I know if it's just yeah, like this one, you know, doesn't really call me to color it. You know, those little cutesy portraits. And at first, you know, when I started coloring, this is the style I thought, you know, I would enjoy the most. I did really mostly enjoy doing portraits a lot. But now I'm, you know, my tastes are developing and evolving. And yeah, this looks a little bit, but you know, like more a bit like grown up. But even then, it's a very, very young grown up, you know, kind of very young adult. And yeah, I want some fire in the eyes, and experience and strength in expressions. And, you know, they're very cute, but they just don't call to me. Some of the other books in this series have a bit more grown-up feel to them, but these, like, this is a baby, you know. You know, this is a baby. This is a baby. So yeah, they just, you know, don't call to me, and it will need to go. So yeah, if you're very interested, we can maybe make a deal somehow. But yeah, I will probably, possibly eventually, and I'll try to put them up somewhere on eBay or something, because I really cannot afford to just, you know, ship them all over the world. Especially, you know, if there's like many packages. Yeah, somebody needs to pay for the shipping. I hope, okay, it's in focus, because sometimes the camera can get a bit cranky. Okay, the next one that will need to go is this one, and there's nothing wrong with it. I have 3 Mythogorias, and this is one of them. I have 2 by Fabiano Attanasio. The other one I like better, and I have one by, I think it's Veronika Kalinska, or was it one of the new authors anyway. No, it wasn't Kalinska, it was, it doesn't matter. Anyway, I like these 2 better, and they are, like, this is actually a very beautiful image, and I would actually enjoy doing it, but, you know, overall I like the images in the other one better. You know, it's beautiful. It's kind of a spooky, horror-y. You can do that, you know, all year round. But I don't want to keep too many Mythogoria books. One of the reasons being that I prefer mythographic, and not even because mythographic subject matters, you know, and that they're, you know, cleaner and not as gory. But mythographic just has better paper. It really annoys me that they published Mythogoria on much thinner paper that doesn't really tolerate water as well. Although, you know, you can still use alcohol markers here and, you know, pretty much anything else because they're one-sided. But, you know, I do like using water-based materials often in these books, for basing at least. And I don't have to, but the fact that I cannot makes me grumpy. This image, really like that one, you know, almost like, you know, for this image, I would almost keep this book. But, you know, is there any point in doing that? You know, but I really like this one. This would be my favorite image of this book. But yeah, you know, I do have another one from Fabiana Attanasio on the same subject matter, essentially, you know, kind of also horrific, also Mythogoria. And I don't need two, considering, you know, that I don't really enjoy that paper as much as I should. So one is enough. Then next one will be, there's quite a few. This one, Luna. Don't get me wrong, I actually like Maria Trolle a lot. And I have pretty much now all her newer books, although I didn't plan to get the seasons, but somehow I ended up with it anyway. This is, yeah, one of those things that I didn't think I pre-ordered it, but I somehow did. These things happen sometimes. But this one is Luna, and it's by Moose Publishers, Dutch version. So it has absolutely gorgeous paper. Let me lift you up. And the art is, you know, just as beautiful as anywhere else. And I think I mainly picked it up on Amazon because it was Moose. At that stage, Maria Trolle wasn't really one of my favorites. I really couldn't get her at that stage yet. But this book, I think, was the first one that I thought, oh yeah, you know, she's moving to the direction that I like her images. I think her compositions here, you know, I like better than some of the earlier ones, although I do like Botanical. But thing is, I already have Botanicum. I have already some of the, you know, ones that I like even, you know, more, you know, the fairy tales and the falling star. Although, you know, love this one. You know, there's many beautiful images here, but the thing is, I already have quite enough of her books. So I really, you know, should need to find a new home for this one, because I don't need so many of them. You know, I have Drum Rice, I do have Botanical, you know, there's enough. And I think this one would be better in somebody else's kind of a coloring stash, and would probably get more love there. But yeah, the paper in it is absolutely stunning. You know, it pretty much takes anything. So yeah, hopefully, you know, I can find a good home for it. I don't want to just give it to a random place. You know, I would like to actually either sell it to somebody who wants it, or at least find a nice home for it, you know, somebody who would actually color in it. The next one is Nature's Magic by Stratton Peterson. And once again, I actually admire that book quite a lot. I like that artist a lot. I just prefer some of her other books. And in her case, I think at the moment, one book that I'm leaving in my collection is quite enough. You know, the subject matter, the animals, the totem animals, or something like this, kind of suits me better. So this book will go. It has a lot of kind of botanical and, you know, kind of potion bottles and botanical line art, which I, on its own, like this, do not enjoy coloring. You know, kind of abundance of just kind of a botanical line art is not something that I enjoy. Coloring like this one, you know, kind of repetitive as well, you know, the same flower, and moon fruit powder, whatever, the gardenias, like amount of them, I would be livid by the time I get all those gardenias done. So yeah, I actually like this one a lot, you know, this, and even those kind of branches here, the hawthorn, and what's the other one? I don't even know. Yeah, it's really beautiful. I like the birds, I like the branches around it. This one I could actually do. But, you know, there's too many of the images here that I know that I will never touch. Like this one and, you know, like this one. They're just not for me. And I have to kind of start acknowledging to myself that certain things I'm just not into. And even if I do like to do botanical stuff occasionally, I have a couple of books where I like it better. And even those are mostly untouched. Yeah, it's all very beautiful. It's even practical. It's just not my book. Although, once again, love this one with the bird. Like holly and mistletoe would be wonderful Christmas image. You know, if you kind of have this book, you know, this one for Christmas, you know, or in December, would be beautiful. But I don't color in it. So, and it doesn't really call to me. I really like line art, and I like coloring her line art as well, because I find it kind of easy. For some reason, it really suits me, coloring her stuff. It kind of goes very smoothly for me. But yeah, not in this one. Just too many flowers, too many plants, too many kind of teeny bits that aren't really in my taste. This one will also look for good home, and this is one of my fails, buying fails. I actually like the line art in it a lot, and I would like to keep it, but I bought this book, French books, or often your French versions of the books that L'Homme Art and the other ones publish, are often on better paper, especially like the likes of Stratton Peterson books. If you buy French version, they are published by Marabout, and Marabout has really nice paper. So I thought, for some reason, because it seemed to be from the same line, that this would also be on the better paper. I really like the art here. This is by Alexis E. Thompson. Like, I'm not really a huge tarot person, but I do like the imagery and symbolism, and often you get really good art, you know. A lot of different artists have created really interesting, like I love this one, you know. I would actually love to do it. I love this one. And although, you know, there's a lot of here, you know, there's a lot of greenery and plants here as well, whereas, like, for some reason here I can see myself, you know, doing these, but no problem. Maybe because, you know, they're bigger elements, or there's less repetition. But yeah, absolutely beautiful. Love the art here. But the problem is that this one was not by Marabout, and you know, I have just put random color down in random spots. It's not by Marabout, and the paper doesn't like water at all. Well, it tolerates it a little bit, but not really. And even pencil, like, I didn't like coloring on this paper much, but yeah, beautiful art. I actually would like to have this book, but on different paper. And I know there are better papers around for this. You know, even the L'Homme Art one would be better than this. But yeah, beautiful art, you know, really interesting. Oh, then I put skin base down. And I have done this page here, and let me tell you, you know, it was a bit of a struggle. And also it tends to fall apart. The pages tend to come out, which is one of the things like that really annoys me in a book. So you can see I have actually glued it on both sides into the book so it would stay in. That's how I, by the way, I prefer to repair with black masking tape, which, you know, keeps it in place, and also kind of, instead of trying to hide the fixing, it kind of creates a frame, and it's really strong if you do it like this. But yeah, you know, if you look at it like this from the distance, it actually looks fine. But yeah, it was a struggle coloring on this paper. Did not enjoy it, so it will go. And here I have started a page, but I have a feeling that this would have never gotten finished, because you can see that I've tried to put something, you know, water based down here, and I have managed, obviously, but yeah, it wasn't great. So it will have to find a new, well, this one is once again, I probably won't find a good home for it. I don't know if I'm going to find some place that will take it, but, you know, already finished pages in there, and some pages, you know, falling out of the book. It's been repaired. Gosh, what was it called? Music and the Girl, or something like this, was and I think the author, I think it's Girl, like this, or something like this is the name of the author. And this is also brand new. And the portraits here are gorgeous. You know, they have samples in the beginning, and some are kind of in the middle there as well. Coloring samples. They have kind of weird repeats, and kind of, you know, you have full image, and then suddenly you have someplace a detail of that image on a separate page, which kind of annoyed me. But the faces are beautifully drawn. Paper is absolutely gorgeous. Obviously, I haven't tried anything on it, so you know, it might or might not like water. A nice, thick, almost cardboard paper. Stunning book. But once again, you know, it's going to be looking for new home, because I haven't touched it, and it's just not calling to me. Maybe it's the grayscale, although there's images here that don't have grayscale as well. I don't really mind, you know, I can fight grayscale. I like my images pretty high contrast anyway. I've seen this image done so beautifully, you know, by several colorists, and it is genuinely, you know, pretty. But yeah, it's just, you know, a lot of it is, once again, that, you know, a lot of faces are like very, very young. There's some fun stuff here at the end as well. Kind of, it doesn't really seem to fit with the book very well, you know. It's just out of the blue. They have that sort of a line art, which I kind of almost like better. I like that one, you know, quite well. This one is, yeah, it's all right. You know, this one is a really cool line art, but very heavy grayscale, which I don't enjoy. You know, some of the grayscale is just too dark. I find it. Also, grayscale in many cases, why I don't enjoy it often is because, you know, I want to kind of decide on my own shadows often. So heavy grayscale kind of annoys me, because pretty much it forces me to put the shadows where the artist has put them. But yeah, beautiful book, but it will be looking for new home. And, you know, this is one of those books that I would like to kind of find a nice home for. And this is another one, also, I think it's, oh, once again, I don't remember its name, Muses, as it says, something to do with flowers as well, possibly, and also has samples of coloring, but these are, whereas the previous one had like clearly, you know, samples by different colorists. This one seems to be artist's own style all through it. And they have a bit of this kind of a baby doll, infantile look to them, you know, kind of like slightly empty-eyed. I did think I would like it at first, but in fact, they just sometimes feel too pretty for me, and also a bit boring, because, you know, there's, you know, this one is just, you know, so kind of a weird Lolita thing that, you know, very, very young. You know, all those faces look like overly young. And, you know, something about that kind of... Just almost weird fetish for very, very young girls. And the eyes and the, you know, the expressions are exactly the same. And, you know, the lips are slightly kind of a gaping and pouty. And it's like, I think this is the only image that I would consider more or less acceptable for interesting myself. The rest of them are just overly pretty. And I did not realize that at first. And when I got it, I just thought, you know, oh, very pretty and easy to color because the line art is soft. And this one actually would be really easy to color with pencils and everything. And the lines would be very easy to overcome because they're more gray than black. So it would be a beautiful book to color in, but it just doesn't call to me. Well, something about it kind of creeps me out slightly. So yeah, not mine. Will go. I know it's quite a popular book, and, you know, maybe hopefully, you know, or even if, you know, some of you are showing interest. This one actually, I'm not even 100% sure if yes or no. I bought that book just on the verge of kind of going off portraits a bit. At first, I was very much kind of very heavily into portraits only. And then my interest kind of widened. And the art style I got into, and, you know, I was more interested in into kind of changed a bit. So this one is actually an artist edition. It's by Lisa Johanna Pintaske. Sorry, Lisa, if I'm butchering your name. It's a German artist from what I know. Yeah, South Germany, actually. I can read it here. It actually says it here. And she essentially has created her own world, kind of fantasy world, and they're all kind of different tribes and have goddesses and tribes in this world. So the paper is like, this is obviously ring bound book. Paper is beautiful, especially for pencils. Yeah, I can feel, you know, the kind of a gentle tooth on it that, you know, it would really grab nicely. Pretty much any pencil would work beautifully here. I'm not sure about water materials, but I'd say you get away at least, you know, kind of gentle basing with water materials, or possibly even doing backgrounds. So there's goddesses, there's tribes, you know, different tribes that live there, the humanoids, what sort of a different humanoids are inhabiting that world, the queens of different tribes, and the guardians, the warriors then. And here's a map. You even have a map of the world. Here's the portraits now. You know, these would be, I think, the goddesses. You know, all the legend is in the beginning. And then you have, you know, beautiful, very gentle, very delicate line art, which, you know, would be easy to color, and which, you know, if you want to disguise line art, would be really easy to do. So pretty much could do anything. It's just, it's, you know, this is, I think they actually go by tribes. So this would be the guardian of the same tribe. This would be the queen of that tribe. So, you know, this would be the goddess again for next tribe. I don't remember. This is basically member of the tribe. This would be humanoid of that tribe. That's the guardian, I think. And where is it? That's the, or is, oh, that's the queen, and that's the guardian. You know, it goes, and they're cool portraits, and they're interesting, and you know, the faces don't look all exactly the same, and you are giving, you know, if you are really into doing portraits, she hasn't overdone it with line art. It's kind of gentle, and you know, no line is wasted. Nothing is kind of, what I don't like is how she does eyes, you know, those thick kind of lash lines. That kind of, you know, doesn't sit with me well. I prefer she didn't put them there at all, and I can decide how much lash I put in. But yeah, they're cool, and there's some interesting angles, and you know, it's a beautiful lineup, beautiful paper, but not really me anymore. It used to be me, but I kind of grew out of there, and I grew out of it just as I got this book, because you know, it was shipped by the artist. It took a little while to get to me, and then, you know, just as I had it, I had pretty much kind of lost interest in it. So yeah, it's kind of sad, but you know, if and it's genuinely, you know, beautiful quality, nice paper, you know, nice portraits. I really wish it would find a good home. I don't want to kind of, you know, if somebody actually wants this book, you know, maybe contact me, because I would like it to find a home that will appreciate it. Yeah. It doesn't really go to senior center. And this one is one of my very few color by numbers books, which I thought I would be way more into than I actually am. And I think the other few that I have might eventually do walkies as well, but I haven't really made a decision on these ones. But this one is the one I have made a definite decision on. It's mandalas, and they're not really mandalas, that's the thing. And I have put some color into it, but in very few areas. And if it's there, you know, the whole of that color is done, you know, there's no gaps left. So, you know, it can be used, essentially. I haven't ruined everything here. Like here, you know, I've just put pink. That specific pink. And in these cases, I have used gouache. And I have matched, you know, pretty much mixed a pink. Here's the pink. It is the, which looks here darker, but it is actually, you know, the same color. I've mixed the colors. That's how I used to do color by number pages. I did them with gouache and I mixed the colors. That's the only way I kind of enjoyed them. I thought I would, you know, enjoy doing them with acrylic markers as well, or gel pens, the Longo gel pens, but I haven't really gotten into it. And as I said, you know, it says mandalas, but it's either kind of fragments of mandalas or not really mandalas. But it is, yeah, kind of a patterny, kind of a ornamental images. So, you know, if you're into that sort of, but to me, these images, like, I wouldn't really color them in any other books. So, like this one, maybe, you know, I would be interested in coloring, but it's not really, even if I was to do color by numbers, it's not really my jam. Although I can see, you know, how they would come out lovely and, you know, beautiful and, you know, kind of even interesting, but it's just, you know, no, I'd rather than color something. Yeah, I prefer line art and, you know, coloring and making my own decisions, I guess. Although you can learn a lot, even with the color combinations like these ones, you know, they can teach you a lot about, they could all serve as color palettes, essentially, these images. because they are beautiful and harmonious, and I like, you know, this is beautiful kind of vintagey color choices here. So I think that's what kind of attracted me in the beginning, that, you know, the colors were beautiful here. But I did come to the conclusion that I don't really enjoy, especially, you know, that sort of doing, you know, that sort of a thing, you know. If the result doesn't excite me, then the process would be a bit of a pain. So yeah, that one will need to find a home. I don't know. Hopefully I can find some place for it. Once again, you know, and this is the last one at the moment, okay? At the moment. Sorry about my dog. You jump. Go on, hop. The way it works with my dog is that she stands in front of the chair or a couch and shouts at me, and then when I go there and tell her to jump up, then she jumps up. The problem isn't her jumping up. The problem is that I have to put the blankets on her. Just the way she likes it. So you don't have to tell me that I've spoiled my dog. I know I've spoiled my dog. It's news to nobody that I've spoiled my dog. It's okay. The dogs are for spoiling. Okay, sorry. Side tangent. This is another one that will go. And I kind of even don't know how I held on to it as long as I do. It's by Dana Fox, and it's essentially, I think, meant to be like watercolor practice book. It's supposedly a watercolor paper, you know, that you can use watercolors here. And it is a nice paper, but it's not really watercolor paper, okay? It's watercolor paper adjacent paper. It is nice and thick, you know, and it does have some kind of a texture to it as well. So you could even, you know, get granulation effects on it. So yeah, it is good paper for watercolor, obviously. And it is essentially, you know, giving you, you know, first you have instructions here, you know, what you need, some techniques and practicing the techniques. And then you have kind of process and very, very kind of a faint, yeah, you can't probably even see very well because the camera shows less than eye shows, but, you know, kind of very sketchy little images on the other side. And then you can pretty much follow the process. You have the colors you need, and it describes what you need to do. It even tells you the brush size, and you kind of learn to watercolor with it. And well, I'm not saying that by any means that I'm expert in watercoloring. And I thought it would be helpful, you know, in some, you know, way. But to be honest, I'm more of a diving in sort of a person, and this would just bore me. I'm sorry. It just don't call to me, you know. Not at all. And I don't even consider that one, like, some of the images are just pure, no, don't do it that way. This is not that great. I'm sorry. You can do it better. And there's no contrast here. And, oh, whatever. The moth isn't bad. I actually like the moth. You know, sepia. See, I would use, yeah, slightly different colors. But yeah, so I consider buying that kind of a mistake. This one actually, you know, it has some contrast that, you know, would teach you something. But the way the foliage is done, yeah, you know, it doesn't really call to me. But it is good for, you know, if you're very beginner, it kind of gives you an idea, you know, pretty much most of the images would have 3 colors, or some of them have 4, okay? And it essentially explains, you know, how you mix them and how you put them down. So if you absolutely, you know, haven't played with watercolors at all, and you just have, you know, you know, very basic watercolor palette, then yeah, absolutely. But also you can't have very basic watercolor palette because it's asking for colors like mauve, indigo, and rose, which aren't your standard colors on your watercolor palette, especially if you have like palette of, I don't know, 12 or 24. But you can of course mix them, but you know, they don't really explain how. And of course, burnt umber, ivory black, sap green, yeah, these ones are very, you know, widespread and would have, most of the basic palettes would have them. Same with hookers, dark green, burnt umber, raw umber, paints gray. Yeah, you know, for most of them you can cope. Indian red, yellow ochre, hookers, dark green. Yeah, there's beautiful, you know, as I said, you know, if you are a beginner, yeah, absolutely. But I haven't touched it, and I can't see myself really ever touching it. Let's be honest. Let's be honest with myself. So, and the animals at the end are quite cute, and it even tries to explain, you know, how to create the fur effect and stuff like this. The coyote is very cute, but you know, a lot of the images are very contrast poor to me. You know, they are for kind of practicing it for beginner. So, yeah, it's a hefty book as well, you know, because the paper is heavy. Genuinely on it. It does feel a little, you know, it does feel like maybe 200 GSM watercolor paper. Not now in a nice cotton one, but you know, kind of pulp. So yeah, absolutely, absolutely useful maybe for somebody who is absolutely starting from zero and hasn't really touched watercolor at all. It gives you the basics of maybe color mixing, and you know, very kind of step by step, but it would just bore the heck out of me, so I'm not going to be doing that. And yeah, it will need to find a new home. So if you really are interested in something, you know, kind of might give me a shout. But yeah, I definitely, you know, cannot afford shipping them all. And for some of them, you know, I will actually try to get, you know, at least a couple of bobs since they're brand new. Anyways, so that's it for today. That's all I have picked up so far that will leave. There will be more, and there will be more of these videos. If I decide to put them up somewhere, then, you know, I might eventually make a post with, I don't know, link to eBay or whatever. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. Hope you had some interesting moments here, and hopefully I see you again soon. Bye bye.